Well, folks, it's time to kick it old school. So you can feel cool. Give it to me, baby.
Hey everyone, it's Mike, and welcome to Mike on Raw. Sorry I've been gone for a little while. After a month of doing a video every day, had to take a little bit of a break, mostly because reasons. So let's talk some veganism stuff. Going forward, I think that I'm going to probably have a combination of, in each video I'll probably talk about two different things. Sometimes the news, sometimes political, sometimes the upside of veganism, sometimes the downside of vegans, sometimes whatever else I feel like talking about. So make sure you subscribe, make sure you give videos thumbs up, make sure you comment down below if you want to make sure I get the feedback that I need to make sure I'm giving you the things that you'd like to hear. Let's talk some news. There's been lots of news lately, and if you're ever wondering what's in the vegan news, just go into Google, type news space vegan, and then use the Google News tab to read vegan stuff, because there's always something in the news and going on, and if I'm not covering it or plant-based news isn't covering it, you might still be interested in it. So that's always a good search to do daily. Let's take a look. Beyonce was in the news recently because of a concert she was giving in Manchester in the UK. And the thing that got her in the news is, of course, people are thought about her with veganism because of the food delivery service that she was a part of, and that big kind of media thing that she did a while back. But there's another sad side of these stars and these music people or movie people putting on these big events like concerts or shows. They come with a lot of crew, and they have a lot of people that are part of their program and part of their thing. And in this case, the story was about all the steaks that were being used to support Beyonce's tour and their show in Manchester. According to a butcher in that area that they use for their meat, they're using 250 ribeye steaks and 250 chicken breasts as part of feeding the crew working on the show. And so we've got Beyonce maybe eating her kale salad or having her Gardein meatless ribs or something. But then we also have her essentially paying for all this other food. And in the end, really, the people paying for that are the people that are going to the show, the people that are supporting her. It's interesting to think about it that way, because then we have to think about how do we support Beyonce in her efforts to spread veganism? But how do we support her staying in the limelight, staying popular, and being able to spread a message when the consequences of her being in that position is the death, torture, rape, and slaughter of hundreds, if not thousands, of animals? It's one of those things we have to balance out with ourselves, isn't it? Some real good news is Kat Von D, who is a kind of a popular person in American culture. She had a television show and tattoos and things like that. But she also has a makeup line that a lot of it is vegan. Some of it isn't. But she is a vegan herself, and she's been somewhat outspoken about veganism. Not a lot, but she has stood up and said some things. And this week she has decided that she's going to reformulate her makeup line and make it all vegan. So all of her makeup line will become vegan and not just most of it. And I think that's a great thing. I love hearing that people are taking a look, and it's getting easier for those things to happen. The alternatives are getting kind of in the supply chain. Other things that aren't animal products can be used for basis for these makeups now. And it's great to see that. Hopefully, when someone like Kat Von D, if her makeup can become popular and some of the other makeups that are vegan can be popular, maybe that will show the rest of the makeup industry that there is an alternative and that people will pay for that alternative. and maybe the Max Factor and the Revlon and all the other different brands that are out there, maybe they'll realize that they don't need to do the same thing they've been doing all along just because they've been doing it all along, right? Don't do it because it's the easy thing, right? Take a stand and decide that you'll do something different, and that's better for the planet, better for the animals, and better for everyone. And we can't talk about the news if we don't talk about Alex Lambert. He was a head chef at a hotel. He was the head chef at the, Little Over Lodge Hotel in Derby in the UK. And he was bragging on Instagram, on pictures of Instagram, that he was putting animal products in the meals of people that ordered vegan meals. Right? So here you had a chef in a restaurant, a head chef, that was actually adulterating the food that people would order with things that they didn't ask for. Right? So people would order vegan things, and then he would put animal products in it. And then, of course, he took pictures and bragged about it on Instagram. Thankfully, the chef was fired. But you have to wonder, what kind of battle are we in? It really is starting to feel like a battle. We're trying to promote veganism, and we have people that are just so negative against it, that they actually are sabotaging people's food. What do we do? I think that really shows how important our message is. That when people will fight against our message, so much so, that we need to keep our message going strong. Another thing found in the news was a 14-month-old Italian baby boy was brought into the hospital for being malnourished. He was being fed a vegan diet, and he was malnourished. His iron was low, his calcium was low, and it's really hard to hear those kind of things. I think this is probably about once every month you hear about this kind of thing. And really what it is that we need to get better at educating vegans. Right? It's great to have the activism to try to bring new people into veganism, but we also need to remember that it's not always obvious to new people coming to veganism about how to eat, what things they need to eat, and how to have a wide variety of food in your diet so that you get the nutrients that you need. And especially with their babies, right? If someone's eating just the same old vegan junk food, or they're just eating potatoes and potatoes and potatoes, or rice and rice and rice, and they don't ever mix up their diet and try different things, that's one thing for themselves, right, as an adult. But what if they're parents and they're feeding that to their kids? I think it's really an important thing for us to recognize that it's our job to help educate vegans better about nutrition and help them understand that just because you're eating plants doesn't mean you're going to be healthy. You have to eat the right variety of plants. You have to eat enough of the plants. And how do we make sure we get that message out all over the world? I think that's one of the challenges that we have in 2016 and into the future. Well, this was an interesting story that I saw. It's about Christie Brinkley, and she was talking about her skincare and things like that. She's probably got some book that she's going to be selling. But she's always talking about, or at least in this article, she's talking about being an aspiring vegan. And I was like, well, what does that mean? To Christie, what that means is that she eats mostly plants, and so she's really more like a plant-based eater than a vegan. But sometimes she craves her salmon. Sometimes she has to have her oysters and champagne. And sometimes she wants to have some mozzarella, right? And she talks about, in the story, is quoted as having this kind of this beatific vision of just eating this Italian mozzarella. So there's this nice little dainty cow walking around in the pasture, eating the grass, and every once in a while someone just comes along and milks it. And it's obvious that she doesn't understand. And it's because of these people, and these people that are really popular and stuff like that, they're so insulated from real life, I think, really. But this is why it's important for some of our messages to be out there where we tell people what really is going on, what really is happening in the dairy industry, how there's no beatific cows just sitting there waiting to be milked, right? These are cows that have had their babies stolen from them. These are cows that are injected with hormones and been genetically modified so that they're producing milk longer than what would be normal for a cow. They are forced to become pregnant, and then their calf is taken from them very early after they're born, simply so that we can have milk and we can have mozzarella cheese. That kind of message needs to be out there so that people don't fall into these traps where they continue to make it seem like there's happy cows jumping around on the mountainsides, right? We have these chickens that just are so happy to be around each other. These pigs are just waiting for us to kill them. Come on, people. Let's not be like Christie Brinkley. We can be smarter than that, right? Some big financial news this week. Dan Dunn Foods is buying WhiteWave Foods for $12.5 billion. Now, who is WhiteWave Foods? WhiteWave Foods is a plant-based company that is behind the brands of Silk, So Delicious, Vega, Delight. They're a large organization that owns these plant-based brands. And so this French company is buying that organization to kind of expand their reach into plant-based foods. What's interesting about this story is that, you know, how Dr. Greger might talk about there's no big broccoli, right? We have big agribusiness, but we don't really have someone that's spending the money on giving the story and talking about and promoting carrots and vegetables and broccoli and things like that. But in this case, here we have a plant-based provider, and they're being acquired for $12.5 billion. So money is getting into this. As our demand for these plant-based products increases, as the world's demand for these plant-based products increases, we're actually creating opportunities for financial gains for these companies. And because of that, they're going to invest more in these plant-based products. It might be interesting, and maybe it's something I'll do, to take an inventory in my local store. What are the vegan options available today here in, say, August of 2017 or 2016? So we'll look at August of 2016, and then a year from now, do the same type of inventory in my local store and see if the plant-based options have grown or shrunk. I suspect they're going to have grown significantly. Here's our final story. And it's an interesting one, a little uplifting. CNN.com and CNN itself is kind of promoting this green agenda, and they have this thing called Going Green. It's a show that they have that's a half hour on Friday. Yeah, special half hour show on Friday. And then they also have some blog entries. And the one blog entry that I thought was interesting is for Patrick Baboumian. They're kind of celebrating green champions, and so they talked to him a little bit, and it's interesting to hear some of the things that he had to say. So if you don't know Patrick, he's a German bodybuilder, and he over the last couple of years has been vegan, and he's been training, and now he's got the strongest man in the world title. The great thing about the article is that they really give a real good sense of Patrick, and he's really promoting veganism well. He's talking about how it helps his recovery. He's talking about how it allowed him to work out more and get even bigger. And it really gives a nice, good look at how veganism in the powerlifting and muscle building world is a great thing. So check it out. I'll put links to all these articles down below. Thanks so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed these videos. For sure, let me know in the comments down below anything else that you'd like me to talk about or get into. I'll probably have another video in another week or so. I'm trying to do a little bit better with editing, so I'm taking a little bit more time with them. Thanks again for watching. I really appreciate it. Thumbs up if you like it, thumbs down if you don't, and we will see you next time. Bye.